talk about something we all deal with, that feeling of having a workload that just feels impossible. And on top of that, there is this constant pressure to say yes in every single request that comes in your way. But the secret to actually get more things done is not about some time management hack. It's about learning how to say no effectively. So I want to start with an idea that might sound a little bit weird at first. We all feel that we have way too much work, don't we? That's just a given. But that is not the actual problem. The real problem is not the volume of work. The real problem is that most of us, we don't know how to say no effectively. And here is the crazy part. The more senior you get, the more important this skill becomes. Because your job becomes more about filtering out what not to do instead of just doing more. But let's reframe this, because this is important. Saying no, it's not about being difficult or rejecting people. It's about protecting your focus, and it's about clarity. Okay, so if saying no is so critical, why is it so hard? Why do I avoid it like a plague? So it usually starts with something called the soft yes problem. And trust me, this is a really dangerous habit. It feels totally safe in the moment, but it creates absolute chaos down the road. So the reason behind it is the fears of saying no. And these are totally normal fears. You worry you're going to be labeled as difficult, or people will see you as not collaborative, not a team player. And of course, there is a big one, damaging a relationship with a key stakeholder. So to avoid that awkward, uncomfortable moment, what do we do instead? We try to be super accommodating with actually not committing to anything. We say things like, I'll try to fit it in. Let's see what we can do. We will have a look at it. Does it sound familiar? So all those answers seem polite and it sounds helpful. But what do they actually mean? What have you actually promised? Absolutely nothing clear. It sounds totally ambiguous. Let's take the example of I'll see what I can do. Again, it feels super collaborative, right? But all that it does is that creates this vague expectation that you now actually have to deal with. And on top of all real priorities that you already have. So these are perfect examples of this soft yes. It's basically a non-committal agreement that helps you dodge conflict right now. But this is a real problem. You think you're avoiding a little bit of friction, but what you're really doing is planting seeds for massive chaos later on. You give out 5 of these yeses, and 2 weeks go by, and surprise, nothing actually gets done. And it's not because you're bad in your job, it's because you never made a clear decision in the first place. So all this leads to a really powerful and honestly surprising idea of what it takes to build trust at work. We're about to challenge a belief that I think a lot of us just take for granted. So you have this common belief that being polite and agreeable builds trust. But the reality is what calm, effective leaders already know. Predictability is what builds trust, not politeness, predictability. People need to know that they can count on you to be consistent. So here's the hard truth, guys. Saying yes all the time actually destroys trust. And why is that? Because it leads to all this stuff. Priorities get muddy, timelines are slipping, your team is burning out, and the whole operation descends into chaos. You see, clarity builds trust way faster than just agreeing to everything ever will. Okay, so we have diagnosed the problem, we explain why learning to say no effectively can help you build trust at work. Now let's get super practical. Let's talk about a framework that you can actually use to say no in a way that is calm and strategic. So there are 3 big patterns we're gonna cover. Number 1, instead of a flat no, you give priority context. Number 2, you turn requests into decisions that you can make together with the stakeholders. And 3, you're using sequencing instead of rejecting something right away. Remember, the goal here is not to be a roadblock, it's to completely reframe the conversation with the stakeholder. Okay, so let's break down that first one. So, stakeholder comes to you with a new request and you reply, we cannot do this. This response is just a brick wall, it shuts everything down. But a better response is not a no at all. It's a clarification. You make the trade-off crystal clear. So you basically say, here's the priorities we have already set, and here's what happens if we change them. And that's the kind of transparency stakeholders absolutely love. Alright, Pattern number 2. So when a stakeholder comes to you with a request, the key is to not reactively say, okay, we will add it, or say, we'll see what I can do. Instead, you respond structurally. You push back a little, gently. You say, this is a great idea. Where does this fit in with respect to our other priorities? You turn what is a casual ask into a serious shared decision of what really matters. And finally, we have the third pattern, which might be the simplest, but actually one of the most powerful patterns. Instead of a hard no, you just offer a not now. This is so effective. You are validating their idea, which is great for the relationship with the stakeholder, but also you are fiercely protecting your team's focus on what needs to be done right now. So theory is great, but how does this actually play out when the pressure is on? So let's walk through a real-world scenario to see this in action. Okay, so just picture this. The stakes are super high. You are days away from a huge launch, and a very senior stakeholder comes to you with a classical request, just one small thing. You can feel the pressure, right? I'm sure you can relate to this. So, what you can do then? Instead of just giving in or starting a fight, you just use the framework. You calmly and clearly make the cost of this small thing visible. So you say, for example, we can include this, but it will delay the release for a week. If it's critical, we can make that trade-off. See, you didn't say no. You presented a choice. You empowered them to make the strategic decision. So, you know what happens? The stakeholder actually pauses, thinks about the trade-off, and makes the right call themselves. So often the stakeholders make this request because the cost is not visible to them. Your job is not to be a gatekeeper that just says no. Your job is to be a cost eliminator. So if you want to start using this framework to say no effectively today, here are 3 simple phrases that you can steal. So this will immediately shift you from being on the defensive mode to being in a mode that you're framing a strategic decision. So seriously, trying this out can completely change the dynamic of your conversations at work. Want to know more of these expressions and what to say in different scenarios with requests coming to you from various stakeholders? You can download my scenario handling playbook that you can find in the description below, or comment playbook and I will send it to you right away. This is the final takeaway. I want to zoom out for a second because this skill, it's not just a neat communication skill, it's actually a core principle of what it means to be a great leader today. And this is the one thought that I really want to leave you with. Every time you say yes to something, you automatically say no to something else. It might be another project, it might be your team's ability to focus, or it might just be your sanity. The best leaders, the calm leaders, are not hiding from that reality. They make it visible. And that right there is why their teams actually end up moving faster. If you want to learn more about how to become a calm leader and regain your focus and make better decisions, you can see this video right there. Thank you for listening to me today. I'm Stella Raki from Calm Product Leader, and see you next time. Bye!